This is a brief tutorial on how to use the MakerBot Method 3D printers that we have in the Calhoun Discovery Program. First, I'm going to teach you how to exchange the filament out in case you run out or just want a different kind of filament, a different color, material, whatever. And then there is a brief tutorial on how to actually use the software to send a print job to the printer. As you can see here on the screen, you have a couple of different options that you can choose from, and this is a touch screen, so if you want to see what kind of material you have or how much you have left, all you have to do is to tap where it says Material. It will show you here what kinds of filaments are loaded. Material Bay 1 is the model filament, and Material Bay 2 is the support filament. If you want to unload it, then all you have to do is tap where it says Unload. Once you've tapped it, just follow the prompts. The extruder has to heat up a little bit, and then it will back the material out of the extruder, so you might have to wait just a minute. There are two material bays. Bay number 1 is for your model material, and bay number 2 is for your support material. To open it, just depress the little lever on the side, and then pull it open. Once you have it open, you can just lift the spool up, and then gently remove the remaining filament out of the device. Once you've removed the filament and the spool, please don't forget to wind it up before you store it. Once you've removed the spool and the filament, on the screen, don't forget to tap Done. It should now show you on the screen that there's no material detected in the bay in which you unloaded the filament. To load new filament, tap Load on the screen and follow the prompts. It will ask you to cut off any bent material that's at the end so it doesn't kink up inside the tube. But once you've done that, or if there is no bent material, go ahead and place the spool in the bay and then feed the material into the little slot in the door. You will hear the stepper motors grabbing the material, and you should see it then start moving the material through the machine. Once it's done that, you can go ahead and close the door even though the screen won't prompt you to. You will see on the screen though that it will tell you to look at the extruder for the filament to go ahead and be flowing. Once you see material being extruded from the extruder, go ahead and tap Confirm Material Extrusion on the screen. And then that's all there is to it. If you didn't already close the door, you can close the bay door, and now you're ready to print. This is just a short tutorial to explain to you how to take a file and use our 3D printers we have in the Calhoun Discovery Program. We actually use the MakerBot Method printers in the Hillcrest Hall lab, and for that you have to use the MakerBot Print software. You can install this on your own laptop, it's free to use, or you can use the computer that we have in the studio that is connected to the 3D printers. And there's a couple differences in what you're going to do depending on which solution you want. If you have it on your laptop like I do right here, you're going to load it up and you're going to have to go here and tell it what kind of printer it is. Mine's already set up, but you will actually have to click on this and go to Add a Printer, and then you're going to add an unconnected printer. And from that list, you're going to choose MakerBot Method. And the reason why you need to do that before you do anything else is because each different printer has what we call a different sized build plate. And so it's going to put the right sized build plate on here for whatever printer you have selected. And that's going to affect this, how much you can print, the size of your print, how tall it can be, all of that. So choose your printer first, and then you can bring your file in. Now, you can either have a file designed that you've created, or you can go online and find a file that someone else has created and you can download it. But it needs to be in one of a couple of formats, and the two most common are going to be a .stl or a .obj. To bring your file into the MakerBot Print software, you go up here and you're going to browse for it by clicking on this project panel that looks like a little folder icon. And then you're going to hit Add Models. I'm going to go to Add Model. It's on my desktop. Whoop. And it's right here. I'm going to open that. All right. You can then, if you want to right-click and hold your mouse button, this will allow you to kind of drag around and look at it to make sure that it's on the build plate the right way. And in this case, it's actually too wide for the build plate. You can see it's hitting the black borders here. So what I need to do is I need to rotate it. Over here on the right is kind of your tools panel, and this is how you could change your file. There's a couple of things. I could actually change the size. I could scale it up or scale it down. I could orient it, which is what I'm going to do here in a minute. I could use a range, and what a range does is that lets you slide it one way or another You can arrange your build plate a certain way. You could center it on the plate. I don't need to do any of that. Oop, I unselected it. And then your print settings allow you to do things such as change how thick the walls are, the infill pattern. When you 3D print something, it's not a solid block of plastic. It prints the outside, but inside it's usually kind of hollow with a structural pattern so that it gives it some rigidity. So you can change all that here in the print settings. But I'm just going to orient it, so I'm going to go, and out of experience I know that I need to change it on the Z-axis, and I'm going to change it 90 degrees. And now I'm going to click and drag it and move it on the build plate. Now you'll see here we have this gray box. This is called a Purge Tower. This is something that the printer does because the way our printers work is they have two different extruders or print heads. One of them is for the model plastic that's going to be used for your model, and one extrudes support material. If you have a model that has any parts that are going to overhang as it builds up, you can't just print stuff into the thin air, right? So it has to build up support material under it. So two different kinds of filament. Now, it can only print one at a time, so it's going to switch back and forth. When it's printing with one, then it's clearly not printing with the other. The other one can get kind of hard and a little solid in the print head when it's not being used. So when your printer is going to switch back and forth between using the two filaments, it will go over here and it will lay down a layer first on the Purge Tower and clear out anything that might be kind of hard or goopy, and then it will go and put it on your model. So the Purge Tower uses material, but it also increases the quality of your print. You can turn this off in the settings, but I don't recommend it. However, depending on how your model is going to be situated on the build plate or how many models you have, you might need to move this Purge Tower somewhere. So you can click it and drag it somewhere else on the model. So if you have your model the right size and the right orientation and you have your Purge Tower in the right place, then all you have to do is go over here, and I'm going to hit export. Now, if you're using the computer in the lab, instead of export, it'll actually say print, and this should say online. As a matter of fact, there are two printers connected to this computer, and so you actually will have to choose which printer you want to use by hitting this up arrow, and it will give you a choice. But if you're running this on your own laptop like I am, I'm not connected, so I'm just going to hit export. And it's going to ask me where I want to export it to, and I'm just going to choose the desktop, and I'm going to give this a name. And then I'm going to hit save. And when it's done exporting, it's going to tell me actually how much material it's going to use, how much support material it's going to use, and then how long it might take. Now all I have to do is to take this file and put it on a flash drive, and then I can just plug it into the front of the printer, and it'll load it into the printer, and away we go. And that's all it takes to use the MakerBot Method printers that we have in the Calhoun Discovery Program.